right? Okay. The stick is actually our guide and our teacher. It teaches us things that we're not going to think about until we actually work with the stick. There's a lot of techniques that might be familiar to you. Well, I do this, I do a strike, whatever. When you work with the stick, and you know the stick exaggerates and enlarges every motion. So the stick is our teacher. Now, the Philippines being 7,000 islands, you've got incredible variation in what goes on. Over the years, and way back in antiquity, you had Aboriginal Filipinos, which basically had body shields and pretty much an axe. And a spear. So this was the traditional an overhead and a thrust and the axe techniques, shield techniques. That's where it started. But being a crossroads of the world, everybody went through there. And so you had a lot of Indonesian and artists came in, and that's where the basis of Kali came, with the curved blades and shaped blades. That was that Indonesian influence of the bladed art. Was adapted to the spear and sword and shield techniques that the Filipinos had. As time went by, this evolves, come the Spaniards. Magellan lands, and the next thing you know, you've got these hordes of Spanish coming. Now, I don't know if you're aware of it, Magellan was the first man who sailed around the world, but he didn't do it consecutively, and he died in the Philippines. He died in the Philippines when the Chief Lapu-Lapu and his men chased them off, overwhelmed them, and beat them off basically with sticks. Whatever else they had. Here's coming. What do they have? They have body armor and helmets, right? Swords. It's metal and straight swords. And they also had guns. We'll talk about that in a minute. So what happens with the swords? Well, now, where I could be striking, I could hit anywhere on a naked body, or if he's got a body shield, I have to work with shield and slash, shield and thrust techniques. Now I've got a guy who's wearing his armor, wearing his shield, right? So I have to develop, I have to figure out how do I approach this? Now the basis that, and that's what developed the classic 12 strikes. What happened is, imagine this is a Spaniard. He's got a breastplate, he's probably got a cutlass down here, he's got a little articulated armor here, and a head. He may or may not have eye holes, or he may not be open-faced, right? The old Spanish things, weird things. So the traditional is hit to the head, or hit to the head, or hit to the middle, hit to the middle, or thrust. The thrust, you just hit the breastplate, so the thrust has to come out under the breastplate. There's a joint right here. That's a number 6. Joint right there. His knees are pretty open and unprotected. He's got eye holes in his head socket, another eye hole. And if you're lucky, you come down and you hit the center, but the center can come down and hit anything and travel down the center line, but it's a headshot. If you knock off his helmet with the first ones, you can take him out later. So they adapt 12 angles. So they adapted. The 12 angles are this. This is counting for simplicity's sake. 1, 2 headshots. 3, 4. Center thrust 5. Breast thrust downward. Arching back. 6, 7, 8, 9. Same thing high. 10, 11, and come back to 12. That's the classic 12. So the Spaniards come along and they go, wow, this art's really crazy. This is a skirmish art, but they call it a eskrima, Spanish word. So now we have Kali, which is the original, traditional, bladed-oriented adaptation of what the Negritos did. Now we have eskrima, which is the Spanish encounter, or shall we say, skirmish with the native art. Well, now the Spanish are there, guess what? We also start getting blades again. So we had some blades from the Indonesian influence, but now we have more Spanish-style blades, and this is where the bolo comes in, which is a longer, sword-shaped. So it's a version thereof of another blade. So now you have swords and knives. So the Filipinos are starting to fight off, and they realize that their sticks that they had most available were not as effective as, of course, the bladed weapons that they confiscated from the Spaniards they killed. So next thing you know, they're taking the weapons, using those, and they developed an adaptation of the art, which is eskrima. And eskrima tends to be more of a long blade, or a spider dog, a long sword and a short blade, or a stick and a blade. The typical visualization of eskrima would be a guy with a stick here and a guy with a knife in the other hand. That's eskrima. Okay, Kali would be a couple of blades. As time goes by, the Spanish win. They didn't win. Actually, what they did is they made a couple of alliances, the same thing they did in Mexico. They made some alliances with some other tribes, and then they had the tribes fight each other. So basically, the Filipinos conquered themselves for the Spaniards. Once this was done, they said, hey, guess what? You can't do this anymore. You can't do this Eskrima stuff anymore. No, we're going to suppress it. So they outlawed it. But every year, they had a festival that commemorated the Spanish conquest of the Philippines. And during the festival, they had play actors who acted out the conquest. And they acted out the conquest with swords and sticks. And they used to wear a harness. In Spanish, Arnis was a harness. And so basically, from the harness came the name Arnis. And then it became modified into Arnis de Mano. So Arnis tended to emphasize stick, double stick or single stick, or empty hand applications. Does it use knives and bows? Yes, it does. So they all overlap. It's like, you know, twin brothers and sisters and first cousins. And you can find out, you can find variation, but in general, that's what goes on. Now, we were having a conversation earlier, and one of the, oh man, I used to dread, you know, well, you guys work with Wally, right? So Wally comes up and give me your finger, it's like, oh my God, I'm in for pain, right? Okay, well, Randy would say to me, Michael, let's play.
Oh God.
You want to play?
No.
No, thank you, sir. Come on, let's go. And he had arms of fire, and he had arms of iron. He just grabbed me, and I was all over. So bottom line is this: playing is a mentality, and this is really important to understand because I'm coming from a different point here. I'm not coming in just talking about style. Styles are a dime a dozen now. Every island was different. Every island had another multiple families, and now there's grandmasters of this family style from this island, this province, and it's like whatever. I mean, they're all legitimate as far as I'm concerned, but there's so many variation. I'm not a stylistic person. I'm a basics. What's the commonality? What works? This is why, you know, Eskrima ties in. I mean, this is part of the heritage of your Jujitsu art as well. So basically, we have a common ancestor, but now we have stylistic interpretations that that fly out in this. If you did a tree of, you know, a heritage tree, it just goes everywhere with branches and leaves everywhere. So coming back to it, the original point of the original weapon was blades. Well, the original actually was stick, but the blades became dominant because they're far more effective. They were lethal, and they worked in the fighting and conquest. So when you are training, you didn't. In the Philippines, it was very difficult to really practice with blades because as soon as a blade comes out, somebody gets hurt. And if somebody gets cut or somebody gets stabbed, they're not going to have a lot of enthusiastic people wanting to learn it. Right? So there was an adaptation. They went back and they picked up the rattan and said, well, let's play with sticks. You know, you can smash a knuckle and break a bone, but you're not dead. It's just playing. Get the mentality? Blades are not playtime. Blades are life and death. If a blade comes out, somebody's going to die. Or close to it. But you can play with sticks. So in the Philippines, they play with sticks, and you know, when you come in and hit me in slow motion, you come in and hit me with a stick, and I hit his knuckles. I come to the other side, and I hit his forearm. I'll hit as hard as I could here. So that was infinitely better than what was going on with blades, right? I mean, if this was a blade, slice. I got to find another student. Darn. So it didn't work very well. What Randy did, which was an stroke of brilliance, and the guy was a genius, brilliant, very charismatic, incredible technician. He said, you know, we take these sticks, and instead of hitting his hand, instead of hitting here, I'll hit here. Now, somebody once asked me, well, if you train just hitting stick to stick, don't you kind of get into the groove of, you know, just, and then what you really have to do, you just hit the stick? Well, no, the truth is, every time I hit the stick, I can hit wherever I want. I'm intentionally hitting the stick. If I wanted to hit his little finger, I could, or his middle finger, or his knuckle, or his thumb, I could. I mean, I'm sorry. I know what I'm doing. So you know you get the flow, and you can target wherever you're going to target. But it's a heck of a lot nicer to practice with somebody when you go bang, 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 than if I'm trying to avoid my knuckles. I don't want my knuckles hit. And he doesn't either. So if we're starting to hit each other, and he sees I'm ahead of him, he's going to pull his hand out of the way and try not to get hit. And suddenly we have a compensation of a compensation of a compensation, and it's a different flow.
There's no flow.
There is no flow.
Blades, exactly.
And in blades, it's one strike, you're done. And Remy always used to say, we'd be practicing with sticks, and he'd touch me here or touch me there. Oh, you cut already. Oh, you cut already. And I didn't really understand for years what he was referring to. Bottom line is, he says, you're cut. It's over. You just got cut. Done. But we keep practicing. So I mean, teacher. So what happens is, when I first studied karate, I would learn, here's the block down here, right, or whatever. Well, then in Arnis, I learned, blocking down here, I need to be moving. I need to have a different sense of balance. It's not linear. You learn how to move off the line, you learn how to learn around the line. The traditional karate is very linear, punch, block, punch, block. And when I started studying Arnis, I started realizing that my sense of timing was changing radically, because as I was working with these sticks, I was getting a fundamental motion that I'm not thinking about what I'm doing, because I've done this tens of thousands of times, right? But I'm moving, and there's variation. This is called a Sinawali weaving. Stylistically, that's what the style is. And interestingly enough, the first match Remy had when he was a young man, he took on a Sinawali master. And the guy was basically a double stick master who could do a lot more complicated, faster things than I'm doing right now. Remy won in one hit.
One hit?
One hit. Yeah. You know what the one hit was?
Straight down the middle. Yeah.
This guy's Remy's on. Done. And if you look back at some historical archival photos, transferred, whatever it is now on YouTube, right? There is some rare footage of the original Filipino fighters doing ceremonial fight scenes with full body shield here and spear and axe. And you know what their technique was? That was the most effective technique that they had. They would block, parry, block, boom, that one. Bilateral coordination. It teaches angles, stances, and what you're doing is you're indirectly learning. I was saying earlier, I'm a runner. I run. And maybe I had a bad day or whatever, so I'm out for running. It takes me 10 or 15 minutes, but after a little while, I'm kind of kicking gear, and my body kind of gets in a rhythm. The next thing I know, I'm solving my problems, and I call it meditation in motion, because it sets me free to, my body's busy. Well, my body's busy. Now, if I'm working with an opponent and it's somebody different, everybody's different. So I've got this motion happening, and then anybody notice, particularly you guys know, I said a lot of you know, so we're going to go, and first, this is what you do. Just stand here, right? What I'm stopping, what I'm making sure I'm not doing is I'm not doing this. I'm not hitting here right now. I could, but I'm not, because we're friends. So we keep going. But then we started, I said, oh, okay. So go high, go low. Okay, see what's going on here? We're not thinking about stance. When you know what you're doing, you actually start playing. And then you start going, well, he touched my finger. Whoops, I touched him a little. Well, you learn how to control it so you're not really hurting each other. Right? And we're fighting. Now, say he doesn't punch. Same motion. What am I doing? There's always a line hand. There's always a high land hand. It develops this give and take. So you have an active hand and a checking hand or passive hand. When you have a weapon, I'm checking. Why? Well, if that's a blade, if it's a stick, it's going to hurt if it hits. But if it's a blade, it's going to cut if it touches. So I want to control this before I'm moving in. And then I'm going where I go. You don't want to let him continue to control the weapon. So you learn disarms? Yeah, you can do that. Is how to make a contact with stick like you just will, and how to develop that movement in those drills. So then it becomes instinctive to move this way. of a freak work a little bit, but you know what? We wind up in positions. That's fun. That's play. If you listen to Bill yesterday, I can go here, right? I can go here. I can go here. I can go here. Right? I can do this. I can do this. I can do this. How many weapons have I got there? Oh, basically 4 variations, right? 2 hands, 2 feet. How am I going to hit you? Am I going to try to kick you?
Maybe.
Not likely. Not likely. Maybe, but not likely. Here's a well, I'll come back to that in a second. So, most likely I'm here, I'm going to come this way, right? If I'm over here, what am I going to do? Yeah. What's this going to be? What's this? You know, with a visual cue, what's coming. Makes life so much easier. What? It's a stick. I'm afraid. It can hurt me. No, it's a teacher. The stick is going to teach you how to isolate or focus on what you're doing. With both hands, either hand. So you learn right and left hand. You know what one of Randy's greatest secrets was? He was the left hand. And if you look at a bunch of the Scream and such videos about a lot of the Filipino masters, most of them, a lot of them, I won't say all, but a lot of the most effective ones are left-handed. They've learned to be ambidextrous, but their strong side is their left side. So,
Can I say something about that?
the ability to do it slower, suddenly it's fast when you do it. There's all these aspects of it. This magnifies all your emotions.
To the point
It magnifies your
where it's
mistakes. Your bad mistakes you feel, but you try to minimize that. Okay, but it magnifies your emotions. If I throw a punch and I'm going to throw a sloppy punch, it's a sloppy punch, and it may or may not hurt my wrist. But if I throw a sloppy stick strike, it's really obvious. I was working with the kids yesterday, and kids, especially at the beginning, they're really not comfortable with it. A lot of them kind of like flopping it out here, but then I got them to go like this, and within 5 minutes they were doing a real strike. And you know what? If you took that strike away, took the stick away, and they punched, their punches just got better.
Yeah.
So as a training aid and as a teacher, the stick amplifies, magnifies, gives you timing and a total sense of distance and range. Because the other part of it is this: I can stand up like this. From here, I can kick, right? I can't punch from this range. But now I have a great equalizer for this. What happens here? Same range. Same range. So critical distance, I define the line, critical distance being the line from which we cross to engage or disengage. We're disengaged. Hand-wise, we're disengaged. We're still disengaged hand-wise, but I'm engaged with the foot. We're now getting engaged with hand. Well, I was engaged with the stick at the same time as I was with the foot. So your critical distance comes into play. And that accelerates the timing of your hand techniques because you see them sooner. Get this for a second. If this was a knife, if I'm empty-handed defending against this, I have to wait until it comes. Now I'm engaging, right? Now I'm engaging. But I'm not engaged here. I'm not engaged there. I'm starting to engage. With the stick, I'm engaged. And it telescopes your perception. You see what you can do. If I know that if my instinct is to do this motion here and take out his wrist, I'm engaging and doing it now myself. Okay? And you are able to accelerate your perception of timing. So, is this dosakare? So this is spring stuff? No. This is the fundamental of the training aid that's going to teach you and help you do everything that you do better. Now, specifically for you guys, you want to be able to apply transitions. This is how it can improve your current technique. You ever hear about the 10,000 rule?
Yeah, dude. Same technique at 1,000.
10,000.
Well,
Is that the one you're talking about?
any
10,000
motion,
hours.
anything, you must spend 10,000 hours. Okay, so if you spend 10,000 hours doing this, you are going to reap the rewards. Not of the fact that you can sit here and talk and do the sticks, but you're going to reap the reward of the fact that you are getting distancing and movement, and you're getting a flow of what goes on by doing this 10,000 hours. If I'm doing this kind of a motion, right, which is the hit and the follow through and the hit and so on, if I'm doing that motion as a defense, I'm doing it right now very large. It's large. Okay. Now, now, if I want, go slow motion. Did I just do this? I didn't do it in range, but I did it. Do you see what I'm saying? The motions don't have to be big. Once you master the motion, you do what's sufficient and what you choose to do. I don't have to go big, big, big. I don't have to be big. I can be small. Once you master your 10,000 hours, that's not something I'm going to be able to give you in a seminar. It's only 2 minutes. I can give you a drill to work on. And if you have a post or a tree, works great. Whack, 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 whack. Here's the tree post, right? Pretend 9,999, 59 minutes. What you know is you want to know how to transition. Because you're generally not walking around with a stick or cane. So, one stick please. So we want to transition from, there's a guy with a baseball bat or a stick. My gosh, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? Okay, so this is one thing I can try to give you today. And the other is, so one thing is, how do I transition? What am I going to do? Empty hand to get to. Now, I have nothing to tell you from here. If you don't know what to do from here, you're on your own. Okay? You guys know, actually, you know 10 times more than me what to do from any position like this. Although, maybe, I don't know about this. But, give me a thrust. Same thing on blade or a knife. Wherever you want to go from here. But what I'm doing is based on my Arnis footwork that I just did. See what I just did, this footwork? Same thing. I'm moving fluidly, and I'm generally moving on an angle. Visually, you do it this way. So you can kind of see what goes on. This is your traditional karate. Karate is bam, 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 bam. That's your karate. Okay? Your Arnis is generally going to be going this way or moving this way. Your Kung Fu is kind of all over the place, so that's another animal. But we work off of this line. So that's about enough theory, because what I wanted you to get a perspective on the blade versus the stick, on playing versus not. I'm going to simplify the 12 strikes because I want to see how everybody's striking first before we move on to the next thing. The first strike is just come across to the head. Now, pull back through and come across to the center. Great. Pull back, go low. Good. Come back, come down the top. Thrust. That covers your 5 most basic. What am I doing? High strike to the head or upper area, middle strike here, which is one of the most fun to deal with. Lower regions, whatever target you work for you. Head, coming down center, and then thrust. Why? This comes whack, whack. It's a natural flow. And typically when somebody is blocked, pretend you're blocked of some sort. So when someone's blocked from there, they're not really expecting that. So you've got to train that aspect of it. So really here it is, it's just one. In, low, head, thrust. So high inward, middle back in, low inward, high, and thrust. Just do that for a minute. You can do that on. Fingers got to be wrapped around. You do not want your thumbs to back. First reason is her stick can slide down, hold it. Her stick can slide down and hit my thumb and ouch. The other reason is very easy for her to grab my stick and twist against my grip and take it away. But if my thumb is holding and she tries to twist, it's not so easy anymore. Okay? Oopsie. And then low, and then hit, and then thrust. Now the bottom one, the top one you can just hold it up, and the bottom one, I old style, old school thrust, and I come across this way to move it. You could also keep it really simple for your students. If you want to share with somebody, start again. High, same strike, same strike, same strike, head, same strike, same strike. you can make it really simple when you're teaching people. And at the beginning, you've got to make it simple for people to understand and remember if you've never done it. So the simplest way is just strike to strike and strike to strike. Now what is this? This is a deflection. I'm going to digress for 1 second before you practice. He comes in and he hits, and I'm deflecting on a downward. Just strike through. If he's coming, let's start with the first strike. So the first strike, this is a deflection. I'm not blocking it, which is another technique. I'm not passing it, which is another technique. I'm just deflecting it so it doesn't hit me. Deflecting. Either way. This one can, again, you can hit, or I can do the punch. I'm so many years of doing this, it's what you want to do is share. So work with a partner first and just think about hitting the stick and feeling where it goes and where it wants to go. Okay. Really quickly, there's 2 ways to strike. I can strike and hit, or 3 ways. I can retract, I can strike through. What would I do if I had a blade?
Strike through.
Correct. If this was a blade, I would go slicing through and slice back right away. Okay? If it's a stick, the stick is light. Actually, the stick will have even more power. If I was lucky and he wasn't even blocking, if I were to hit and retract, you get that whip back extra power. If you hit hard and hold, that's fine. If you hit hard and hold and block, I can hit hard and block and hold through like that. So you have essentially a stop, you have a retract, and you have a slice through. You do the same drill we just did all those ways. You get it? You build on it. So now you can get into the other hand, because the other hand is the most important part of what's going on. It's called the live hand or the checking. So what I want to do is, I'm assuming, now by the way, if it was a blade or a lead pipe, it's going to swing through, right? Because the weight, once it's going, is, if the guy comes with a lead pipe, I'm happy. Because he's going to go like this, and he's going to keep going like that. He can't stop it. So essentially, you want to now, with the other hand, control what goes on. So just like that technique I was showing you, the Sinawali, okay, if I have, this is what I was doing with 2 sticks, right? Boom, 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 boom. I'm doing it without the stick, without the second stick. So I want to go in and check. Now the key is he's making a committed attack, and I'm blocking his ability to come back with that stick. Now he's instinctively using his hand, which takes us in another direction. What you don't want to do as a teacher to begin with is, you don't bring the other hand in play yet. That's when it gets fun, is when you interact with the play. So what I'm going to do is, whether he strikes and stops or whether he strikes and through, it doesn't matter to me. I'm here. I'm checking his hand. Where am I checking his hand? In the wrist area. Why? Because I want to control the weapon. If he comes back, he can try to hit me, whatever. What am I doing?
Just know where he's going.
I'm just flowing with where he's going. Now, would I really struggle with a guy like this? No, I wouldn't struggle like this. But you get that feel of control. Where am I now? Here is the checking hand comes in and it's a counter. So it's a strike, check, counter. Strike, check, counter. It's the same as this. Same thing. Same thing. Now, what do you guys do from here? You do whatever you want. You practice this all day long. Although I would probably want to take this away first, and then we get into whatever you guys do. This is the transition point. The transition point is, first the guy, you got to learn how to let the person hit the stick, and they got to feel comfortable with it, and they got to go like this for a while. You go, oh, I can't remember, and finally get it to the point where you can. If you do the drill I was showing you thousands of times, then it becomes instinct. You don't have to think about it anymore. Then do a backhand strike. Coming this way, what can I do from here? Lots. What can he do from there? He's preoccupied. What's he worried about right now? He's trying to bring his weapon back into play. Now, what will probably happen at this point, he might come at me with this hand, he would, or, which is fine if he did, because it's slow motion, same thing. If he came at me with the top hand, I don't care. Because I'm also at this point going to throw something here to distract him again, and then I'm going to take the stick away, and then you can just walk off with both sticks. So you can play it. Okay? You can play it. But what you've got to get first is comfortable with the stick and replace it with your hand. Depending on range, I'm now at the wrist, at the hand, top of the knuckles. I'm a little closer, I'm at the wrist. I'm a little closer, I'm controlling here. I'm a little closer, I'm controlling with my forearm. I did a drill with this at Professor Bunch's school the other day, and everybody was freaking out because I was controlling from here. I have nothing, so now try to go ahead and hit. We're not using the other hand. This is a drill, right? Got me. There you go. In other circumstances, you get a feel for it. This is a sensitivity drill. Here. You don't grab. I know this is against your instinct. It's not a grab. There's a reason it's not a grab. You want to control the weapon without being committed to holding it. So, here. I'm controlling it with a push. The harder he pushes, the more I have to push or move. If he backs up, I have to chase him. I changed hands, that's unfair, but you know. He's trying to just figure out a way to hit me with a stick. If it was a knife, it's the same thing. You just have to be careful because there's a blade. So you're paying a little more attention to not get cut. A quick drill is going to be this. And just feel it. So it's, my kid does this. Stick, hit, stick, hand, hit. My 5-year-old. Stick, hand, hit. Other side. My right hand back in. Stick, hand, hit. Low. Then now stick, hand, hit. Notice I adjust distance as necessary. Over the head, stick, hand, hit. So I would like you to do stick, hand, hit for a minute. Get the feel, because this is critical. Critical application of what we just did. Ready? That's it. I'm not going in sequence. I'm just doing whichever I feel like. Now we're in free form, in a slow way. Slowly. And just stick and gentle. And then stick. Yeah. That was preemptive. What do we say about the time it takes for the guy to draw to 3 steps? Stick and hit. I'm feeding now. Stick and hit. I'm feeding it. I'm not going in sequence anymore, you notice. I'm feeling whatever I want.
The same drill, but now you counter check.
With 5 drills in one drill. You get that feel, then you go back and forth slowly. Stick, hand, hit, come in. Am I getting here? Where am I going? What's going on? This is where you get into fun. This is where you can play. Now, is it totally realistic? No, I would have kicked him about 12 times by now. Or I would have done something hard. We're learning. We're doing a little give and take on that. You're feeding it. I wanted to know that. Would I really do that? No. And one last thing. You're talking about fighting stance. People are saying, you know, what would you do with your stick? How would you play? Classical Arnis, Arnis was this. That's classical. Okay? This is me. You got 4 things to worry about now. You see what happened here? What are you worrying about now? Actually, it's defensive position. But what am I doing? Where's my head? Head and the stick. Head and the stick. Where's my head now?
You have everything.
You see? You see where it's going to go? Boom, 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 boom. Everything is there. You have everything. This is where you go to the basics. I don't know, there's probably a style out there somewhere that does exactly, I don't know. Not right or wrong, but what happens is you go to the basics and you will find how things flow. You already understand attacking positions. Put your stick down here. Here we are, we're going to fight, right? I don't want to let him get a hold of me. I'm Bill Wallace right now. I don't want him moving. Okay? You guys have got that part. I have nothing to say. You need to learn how to do what we just did and build and get comfortable with the stick and transition so that you're able to move into your art that you have mastered. So don't worry about this extraneous factor that got thrown in. You can comfortably learn with these simple techniques. I heard you before, ready? The right hand strikes across the top and the left hand goes into your armpit. Like a robot, you bend your elbow, just like a robot. So you strike, and then from here, you just bend the elbows. Right hand goes to your left shoulder, left hand strikes low. And then the right hand goes low, and the left hand pulls back in the open position. And now we're just doing the same thing mirror image. The left hand comes across, right hand into the armpit. Left hand goes to the shoulder, right hand strikes low. Pull back and open with the right hand. Do it again.